What is up, everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I wasn't gonna make this video today, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go for it because this is something that I have been thinking about non-stop over the past few weeks and honestly even the past few months. I think for a lot of you guys, you might be able to relate, and I think the thing is that a lot of people are thinking it, but not a lot of people are saying it. Basically, I just put up an Instagram story the other day speaking my mind and talking about my opinion and my perspective, because what I'm gonna talk to you guys about is 100% perspective and something that I've been recognizing just about the entrepreneurial space. A lot of people related to it, a lot of people understood and felt heard, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna share this over here on YouTube as well. If you guys don't know me, my name is Ken. I have been an online fitness coach for about 5.5 years. I also started business coaching about 3 years ago. One of the things that we do at the Wealthy Women's Business Academy is that I teach women how to build up the entrepreneurial skill sets to thrive in their business, and not just to thrive in their business, but also to thrive in their life. Here's something that I'm really starting to recognize is that I'm so appreciative of this. There's been this like massive awakening, massive movement going on, and I think a lot of that is attributed to COVID. I think a lot of people kind of woke up and they were almost like forced to face their demons. And here's something that I'm noticing in a lot of the entrepreneurial space is that I coach a lot of women who are younger and they're just getting started in their entrepreneurial journey. I'm noticing that there's a lot of pivoting and shifting into things like mindset coaching, doing lots of shadow work, doing inner child work, and I will tell you guys, I've been through hypnotherapy. I've had mentors over the last 5 years, and even last year I worked with a mentor where I did a lot of hypnotherapy, a lot of block removal, just a lot of deep healing work. Something that really came out of that for me was I recognized that a lot of what we do as entrepreneurs is we peel back layers to help us just make things more simple so that we can create better solutions for people. Here's what I'm really starting to see is that a lot of young entrepreneurs, and again, I recognize perception is projection sometimes, and so I understand that, and that's why I said this is my perspective on things, is that a lot of young entrepreneurs are almost turning towards mindset as what seems like a form of validation for justification for lack of action, or it creates more imposter syndrome, or it actually creates more of a block or limiting belief is what I'm recognizing for a lot of even the women that I work with. And I want to give you guys just kind of a bigger understanding of what I mean by this. A lot of people I'm noticing, instead of simplifying the problems that they're coming up with, are constantly seeking and seeking and seeking to find answers. And I think nowadays what's happening is this big personal development movement is a lot of people seeking to find answers for things. Because of that, we dig really deep, which I think is so important because we need to discover who we are, what sets us apart, what makes us different as entrepreneurs. We're constantly seeking to find. Because we're looking and we're looking and we're looking, one of the biggest things that I'm noticing is people are identifying as being lost. So they're telling themselves, I don't know who I am, I don't know who I want to serve, I don't know what I'm good at in business. And they constantly tell themselves that they are lost. And because they now identify as being lost, they don't show up. They have imposter syndrome. They don't believe in themselves to move forward. And it's because they feel like there's this destination that they need to get to. And don't get me wrong, like this was me last year. I constantly told myself I was lost. I told myself I didn't know what I was doing. And because of that, I massively lacked taking action towards the goals in the business that I wanted to create for myself. It's almost like this lack of action or this feeling of something that just gets prolonged over time. And so it kind of just becomes this huge cycle. And then it's like we turn to social media and we see somebody on TikTok or somebody here on YouTube or Instagram or whatever say that, oh, if you do this, then it means that you have this, or if you do this, then it means that you're this. And automatically people take that on as who they are. And that I am statement becomes so powerful. And here's the thing that I've learned over the last year or so is that the more that you can just simplify things in business, the more that you can simplify things in life, the more that you're going to take action on them. We're constantly looking to figure out why we're not doing things, when instead what we could be doing is how do we figure out how to take action? How do we figure out who we need to be to do the things that we need to do to get to where we want to be as an entrepreneur? So we're spending so much time trying to figure out why we're not doing the things that we want to be doing, or why we are a certain way that we are, before we look at transitioning and actually just doing the thing that we need to do. I want to give you guys an example, and I know that this is going to be a really touchy subject for a lot of people, and that is totally fine, but this is my life, again, my experience, and I want to share it with you guys. A really big part of this is, for me, in January of 2021, I was diagnosed with ADHD. I understand that it is a clinical diagnosis. I understand that it can be a chemical imbalance in the brain. Something that I've also noticed is that plenty of my students have been diagnosed with ADHD. Plenty of people nowadays, I feel like, are just a lot of people are being diagnosed. Here's how powerful it is when you receive something like that. that is that I used to work extremely efficiently. I was constantly on the go. Yes, my brain worked very quickly. Yes, I did interrupt in conversations. There were a lot of things that I did that are typical of someone who has ADHD. I got the diagnosis. After I got the diagnosis, I started to justify all of my actions. I started to tell people, oh yeah, I just interject a lot because I have ADHD. Still rude. Doesn't make it okay. There were a lot of things that I did that would be somewhat of what someone who would have ADHD would do. But I started to justify things that I did to the point where I noticed my symptoms were just completely exacerbated. Again, I get it. It's a clinical diagnosis. I believe it exists, all that good stuff. I went through NLP last year, and when they talked to me about how we all get to create our own reality, I started to look at things a little bit differently. Started to look at the lens of it a lot differently, where I stopped identifying as somebody who had ADHD. I used to say it after like every few sentences. I'd justify everything I was doing. And it was simply just from getting a diagnosis from it. Whereas when I stopped identifying with it, I started to become more present. I started to become more conscious. I started to ask myself, okay, if these are the symptoms I have, who do I need to be, or what do I need to do the opposite of these things? And I slowly stopped interrupting people as much. I stopped fidgeting as much during my day. I stopped talking as fast. If you watch any of my old videos, you guys will probably see that. And I just have been able to be more present. And it's because I stopped identifying as that thing. And I think we're constantly starting to look and search and try to find it, because we're not finding right away, or because we think that we don't know who we are. We're claiming to be lost, or we're claiming to be this thing that we're maybe not, right? But we turn into that thing because of confirmation bias. Our actions start aligning subconsciously with what we're saying that we are. In this space of entrepreneurship, what I'm starting to notice, especially amongst a lot of young female entrepreneurs that I've coached, is that they're getting into this flow state, which I am so big on. If you know me, is I'm really big on following intuition in business. They're starting to be, oh, I need a flow, like this is what's gonna help my mindset, this is what's gonna help me grow, this is what's gonna help me prosper in business. But it's like the hard work is getting left on the table, right? They lack the structure, which is what people identify as, the whole masculine, feminine part of business is, they go from feeling this I am lost to like, I need to find myself, doing this mindset work. And the mindset work is what they deem as kind of that flow, right? Bringing in the flow, bringing in the mindset, to where they're lacking the structure in business because they feel like now they're lost. They feel like they can't have structure because the structure confines them, it puts them in a box. But here's the thing about entrepreneurship is that take who you are, take your intuition and plug that into a system, plug it into structure. You're going to be able to execute at a much higher level. It's taking a step back from telling ourselves that we're consistently lost and just being who we are now, because there's no destination. The journey is the destination. That's what I always say, because you're constantly going to be evolving. You're constantly going to be growing. So just enjoy who you are now. And in addition to that, like I said, it's also that kind of masculine, feminine side of business where a lot of people are saying they need to be in flow state. They need to find harmony. They constantly need to be making sure that they're not putting themselves in a box. Well, guess what? Building a business is hard. It takes hard work, and it's necessary for you to have structure. I love this movement that's going on. I love this awakening. I love that people are working on bettering who they are as individuals. I love that young people, including myself, are finding themselves. I've learned so much about myself over the last year, but I realized as I got more into my spiritual journey, I got more into my inner child, understanding more about my mindset, understanding more of who I was, peeling back the layers from the conditioning that I had from childhood or whatever it might be, that I loved who I was as a person. But I think another big thing that I recognize is that you can simultaneously live in harmony. You can be figuring out who you are, you can be learning more about who you are, you can do the mindset work, you can have the feminine side of business where you flow and you pull in your intuition, but you can also have the structure, right? You can plan a launch, you can structure the launch, but you can use your intuition to fill in the gaps and the holes so that the launch is something that feels congruent to who you are and to what you want to provide and the value that you want to provide. I just felt called to share this because I see so many people falling into that flow, working on that flow, which I think is so beautiful. They're also, it almost seems like, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It feels like it's almost like an excuse to not do the hard work. We have to bring back the harmony for that. Everyone in business is different, but I'm telling you right now, at any level of success, if you want to scale your business, like you have to have some kind of structure. You're not going to intuitively pull yourself all the way up to a 7-figure business and be able to maintain that with your team if you're constantly just floating, because you're not going to be delegating to your team and they're going to have no idea what to be doing if you're just in flow and you're super intuitive and you're just focusing on your mindset all the time. I just felt called to share this. I see a lot of young entrepreneurs in this space. I'm young myself. I'm only 24. I've only been in entrepreneurship for about 5.5 years, almost 6, whatever it might be. I'm not the most experienced person in the world, but I did want to share my perspective with you guys because I see a lot of people taking that path. I see a lot of people taking the trajectory of it. And you look at people who are giving advice who are extremely successful, like the Ramoses or, even my mentor. It's like I see a lot of the advice they give and it's really straightforward. It's really simple. And it's like when you peel back the layers, it can be that simple. We just like to overcomplicate it. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on this. If you guys think anything of of it. I would love for you guys to comment down below. Feel free to shoot me an Instagram message. You guys can find me on my Instagram over at Kendall Strample. That's my main Instagram. You guys can also take a look at our business coaching page where we provide business tips every single day for you guys at www.biz Academy over on Instagram. I love you guys. I felt like sharing my opinion. So if you guys want to hear more about this kind of stuff, if you want to learn from me, stay tuned for the next video. Love you guys.